titled my talk, Coming Home and Return to Your Heart. But I'm sorry Bill Brobile's not here, because he sent me this joke, and if you don't like it, you could go kick him. But anyway, maybe that's why he didn't show up. It's actually cute. Anyway, the Pope's hat is what it's called. President Trump invited the Pope for lunch on his mega yacht. The Pope accepted, and during lunch, a puff of wind blew off the pontiff's hat, right into the waves that floated about 50 feet. Then the wind died down and it just floated in place. The crew and the Secret Service were scrambling to launch a boat to get it when Trump waved them off, saying, "Never mind, boys, I'll get it." The Donald climbed over the side of the yacht, walked on the water to the hat, picked it up, walked back on the water, climbed under the yacht, and handed the Pope his hat. The crew was speechless. The security team and the Pope's entourage were speechless. No one knew what to say, not even the Pope. But that afternoon, NBC, CBS, ABC, MSNBC, CNN, and the New York Times, the Washington Post, and LA Times, all of the fake news networks got into action and knew how to cover the story. The banner read, "Trump can't swim." Yeah, it's time we give the guy a break. Anyway. So as I said, coming home, return to your heart. I've just, I'm realizing, and actually Art's song he sang his solo last week, when he sang it, I said, oh my gosh, that is like right in sync with what I'm talking about next week. And it was titled, "God Bless the Broken Road That Led Me Here to You." And it was you did such a beautiful job, Art. And you'll have to sing that one again. It's so powerful. But it really is so true. We, all of our experiences, good, bad, and ugly, have brought us here to this moment right now. And, it's, sometimes I think about that. Ellen and I were speaking just the other day, what if our friends had moved and bought this particular house up the road from us? How different their life may have been and how different our life. Just one instance, because they were looking at this house, but they didn't buy it. And someone else bought it who we actually became good friends with. And, had we not met her, where would our, lives be? There would have been that void of not having her in our life. So you see that there is actually, or what I'm totally getting is the universe has a really good plan for us. And if we just trust that process, it's awesome. It's good, really great stuff. And everything really will work out for the best. So, starting in November, as you know, November and December were probably the two worst months that I can recall in my life, okay? First, Terry's passing unexpectedly, then followed by my father's passing, somewhat unexpected. At 92, there's no guarantees, but he appeared to be, doing okay till he wasn't. And so two of the main men in my life were gone in a very short time. And so I have to say something here. When this all happened, for me to show up and even stand up here was not easy, okay? But the beauty of it was just the love and acceptance, and it's like I was fumbling all over the place, and rather than people rolling their eyes saying, I felt, we're in this as a family, and people were like cheering me on the whole way. We were cheering each other on, and it was such a beautiful, beautiful experience. And although it was a trauma, a grief time for all of us, I think it brought us closer. I really do. It's people stepped up, and I think I could have just sat up here and bawled for an hour, and people would have been okay with it. Which I was, that sort of happened anyway. And people were okay, and the kindness and the love really made me realize how precious of a gift we have here at this center. And so it really made me appreciate even more the beautiful beings that come here, the love we have here, and what the Namaste Center is. And so it's given me time to look and say, okay, so what is our purpose? What are we here for? And, of course it was a huge loss for all of us, losing Terry. And, we've all had our personal losses in addition to that. It may be a sickness, it may be a friend or family member, or maybe a job. Losses always happen. But I always go back to a teaching from the Course in Miracles that says loss is never lost when properly perceived. And if we can just, if I let my ego's judgment say that this is a terrible situation, that I lost this job or this friend or whatever, not to say it's not sad, because it is, and not to say it's not difficult, it is. But if we can open up to the bigger picture and know that there is a divine plan at work, then we can experience the true blessing and the meaning of every experience. And I can personally attest to this. As I said earlier, Dottie's decision to move forward, great decision for her at the time, was like not feeling it for myself. Like, okay, people were continuing to tell me, loss is coming through. So I'm like, will you shut up? I'm like, God, dude, I'm already like up against the wall. Don't sit. But sure enough, Dottie, you made that happen. And, thank you, Dottie. And,
you're welcome.
And you know how she prefaced it was my talk, the prior Sunday was follow your heart, right? And she goes, I gotta follow my heart, I'm quitting. I'm like, oh, good. Okay, so glad you like that talk. But again, I that gave me time to, I totally get it, because Dottie's a gifted healer. This is allowing her to follow her dream, her heart, her purpose. And it gave me time to reassess and evaluate, okay, where's the center going? What's best for us? And, how can we tweak and do things? And things are opening up in a huge way and shifting. And, the music is coming together, with these guys, and much, much more, and a choir coming up. And, it's allowing people to step up, and with Kelly and Susan stepping in, and things are changing, but that's a good thing, it really is. So I've really come to believe that, I think I read a title from a Louise Hay book that just came out titled Life Loves You. And I think, isn't that true? That I go and, let's make it bigger, the universe loves you, And it truly does. And I think if we live our lives understanding that the universe really does love us and really wants to support us if we just allow that to happen. But sometimes we have to think or believe we know better, there's a better plan, something that maybe, as Marianne Williamson used to say, maybe God lost our file or something, just in case we better hold on to it. But I choose to live my life knowing that the universe has my back and has far greater plans for me than I could ever imagine. And not just me, but for each and every being on this planet. And and to me, that's exciting. So coming home, I love this image because it's so much of who we are. It's about coming home. Every Sunday, as you can see, it's kind of hard to even rally you guys to sit down, because and I love it, because I just sit back and I watch the connections and the love and the interaction. It's like, do I really want to break up that party? And I feel like kind of like, daggone, and we're like, put the gong away. But I watch that with so much love in my heart, because that's what it's all about. When we're here on Sundays, it's as though we're coming home, and we're connecting with our tribe, our soul family. And I don't want to break that up, because isn't that what this whole journey has led us to, is to experience exactly what we experience here. It's kind of like, I don't have to think so much anymore. I don't have to read any more books. I don't have to do this and then. I can just go and be and bask in that love of community, which is such a blessing and a gift. You know, it's eventually, I think we have to let go and live the message rather than seeking, because it's already there. And so I can attest to this too, as I think all we really have is our own personal experience. And you know, my goal years ago was, after I'd left the golf business industry, whatever you want to call it, my next thing was, okay, well, that was great. Now I want to write books and go on a lecture. I want to speak all over the world. I want to be like Marianne Williamson, basically. And so I did, you know, I hired a person to help me, a publicist, and a person to help me, you know, hone in my, what do you call it? My brand, thank you, the Charlotte brand. And and it just, this woman did not get me at all. And I won't go there. She just didn't get me. And that's okay, because she's a good friend and a lovely person. But I'm like, okay, so. But then that was also a blessing. At first I didn't feel like it was, because what if the person, I had someone else and they did get me and I was out there doing what I thought I wanted to do. Maybe that wasn't God's plan for me, or the highest and best plan. So, you know, again, I surrendered to the process, saying, well, that's not obviously the path I'm meant to take, is to go out there and write these books and do these lectures and things like that. I wrote one book 15 years ago, never published it, because before I even got it to the publisher, I had outgrown the message. Same thing when I read my golf book. It's a fun little book, but kind of like, okay, I've shifted so much since then, and so I find that writing a book, I think I'm moving so fast, or we move so fast, that it's like, well, before we get the last page written, it's like you go back to page one, it's like, not there anymore, and that's exciting, you know. And so it's as I've said many times, my path has been to find that common thread that flows through all traditions and religions and spiritual paths, and that which unifies us. And I've known all my life that we are all one, all of us. There's no one exempt from my heart in this world. Every one of us, and even the bad guys that we're hearing about. This ain't talking to me. But you know, we are either we're God's children or we're not, and that was never a difficult concept for me to accept. But boy, you hear some people, and it's not us versus them at all. It's we. How can we come together? And I really take to heart what the Course in Miracles says, and I'm making this my own, but it says, the last step from the dream that we're living in to heaven is holding our brother's hand, and no one is exempt from that. So if you want to wake up, then you better check out where you're still holding charges and attack thoughts or judgments towards another brother, because that will keep you asleep, keep a veil between you and the truth. As much as I hate it, it's true. And, the Course in Miracles also says a teacher of God is generous out of self-interest. It's because I'm protecting myself. I want to wake up, and I'm not going to wake up without holding that person I can't stand's hand. And that's the truth. So it really is something to recognize. And I do see that we're a diverse group of people here, and we're very accepting and loving of each other, and growing together and supporting each other. And that, we've done the work. I know pretty much all you guys pretty well. And I know that you've done the seminars, you've done the workshops, you've done this and that, and read every book and known to man. And not to say to stop doing that, but also understand that there's nowhere to get to. You're there already. And sometimes reading this book or experiencing this thing will sort of give us a little aha. But, be led from your heart and ask, show me where to go, what to do, what to say. And then allow that book to come out. Allow your heart to be touched by, I want to go here, experience Ed's seminar next week. That feels like something I want to experience. And so, I find that the experience, I started playing golf when I was 7 years old, and that was that was something in an instant that I knew that, wow, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life, or this is what I'm going to do for a living. And I just loved it. My passion was there. I saw myself, I was using all the manifestation techniques that they teach, and I never knew that I was doing it. I was just feeling myself at the US Open and feeling myself here and there, and the whole bit. And my swing was it was a little quirky, because it just was, kind of like me, a little quirky. And but I will say, by the time, I didn't know much, and my father certainly didn't know much about golf, but he helped me as much as he could and supported me, and both my parents did in the process. And I had a great teacher, and learned a lot of great skills. And looking back, when I was 14 years old, if you're a golfer or understand golf at all, I had really substandard golf equipment at that time. Not very good stuff. And to no one's fault, I just didn't know. I liked them because they were blue and pretty, and that's what I wanted. But they were crap, okay? But I didn't know. So I was playing golf tournaments, and I was able to, if you're a golfer, this was fairly impressive for a 14-year-old girl. This was 40 years ago, more than that. I was able to drive the ball 240 yards. That was before they made the balls that fly farther. That was little soft balls. And and I could hit a 7-iron, fly at 150 yards. That's a fairly long way even today, by today's standards, with the boost and equipment. And but then something happened. All these well-intentioned masters in the game. Oh, let me help you. Oh, thank you. And I was so excited because, I'd read about them in a magazine, and I was so grateful for their attention. And the 240-yard drives went down to about 210. I was like paralysis by analysis. I couldn't even move. My quirkiness, although my swing may have looked better, it was not productive and effective at all. And so I began to realize that sometimes the more I was learning, I had to unlearn it because it was just making me tighter and tighter. And I find that sometimes on our spiritual path, we also do that. It's like, what's the next latest and greatest thing? And, one blessing or experience that I've had in this life is I have had the privilege to meet the masters, the ones who, obviously Greg Braden, Marianne Williamson, Deepak Chopra, Neil Walsh. Many of these people were very much involved with our center in Florida at a personal level. And, I learned from them great things. And also I've learned that they're human and that they're just like the rest of us. And I believe that one thing that we have here is this level playing field, that we're all one. No one's better than, worse than, more advanced, less advanced, more healed, less healed. We're just all, muddling through life, and we're here and so we get to come here and we just get to celebrate like, there's really nothing else I have to do. I can just be, I can enjoy, I can just experience what all this stuff was leading me to. So simplicity is what I'm getting to be the key to the path these days. So, I was thinking, okay, well, what books am I going to take on our sabbatical? I'm thinking, I don't want to take any, I don't want to read. I want to take walks. I want to go to the beach. The one book, you know what I'm going to take? 1984, George Orwell. That's the one that I'm taking. So, something, because it's kind of like, I don't really feel like at this point I'm needing to seek anything anymore. I want to experience it, and that's so different. So simplicity is so appealing in so many ways. That hamster wheel that we're always chasing and running on. Isn't it nice to just come in and relax and just be and not have to worry about stuff? It's so great. because I believe that what we're all looking for and seeking is connection. Connection to source, connection to each other. And that is what we're doing here. Realizing there's nothing more to learn, nothing we need to do, no more credentials, no more certifications. It's about unlearning and just about the bottom line. I think that where does all this lead us to? Our heart. That's where it all leads us. And they're some of the wisest, I think, holiest people on the planet are those who have no intellectual means, by what we would deem that to be. They just live from their heart. Like I love those images that Greg Braden kept showing. You could see these people were living to be 100 and 200 years old, and the joy they exuded and the heart space, and wow, that's what I want. It's beautiful. So I just now, what do I want? I want simplicity. I want to connect with my soul family. I like to have. We went to Tiggs Pond the other night for a conversation on the state of the world. And Lyndon, who will be speaking here in a few weeks, he said, get at your table, ask the question, what really makes your heart sing? And he asked me, what makes your heart sing? I said, just what we're doing here, just breaking bread, sitting down, just having a heart-to-heart, open, honest conversation. No pretense, no need to judge or feel like you're being judged. No matter what you say, it's all good. And that's, to me, heaven. That's really our function and our purpose. I love this statement. I've heard it many times. And it says, don't ask yourself what the world needs. Ask yourself what makes you come alive, and then go do that. Because what the world needs is people who have come alive. So if you really want to bring your gift to the world, come alive. Do what makes your heart sing. Mm-hmm. And it's, I really think that the one teacher that I am drawn to, and the reason I'm drawn to him, Jeff Carrera, he's into new paradigm living. And everything he says, we saw him, who did get to see him when he was here? He was fantastic. And his whole message is like, well, it's about unlearning, letting go, and in a nutshell, to create the new paradigm, which is really the shift from hell to heaven, fear to love, we have to let go of our past and our thoughts about it. And we have to just stay in our heart and move step by step in that direction where we're being led. And let go of the fear of the unknown. We're so afraid, we're so conditioned to cling to the familiar even though we don't like it. We find some safety in that familiarity. But are we really willing to take that next step of, I'm willing to let go of all these credentials, all these thoughts and beliefs about who I am, and just come from my heart and go forward with that. Surrendering to the unknown. That's scary, but I think that's where, as Shirley MacLaine says, the best fruit is out on the limb. And I think how far out on that limb are we willing to go? He says, when awakened individuals come together in the direct recognition of their own deeper freedom and autonomy, they can recreate the world, or at least a local version of it. That's, I feel like, what we're doing right here. New paradigm living from the space of the heart and not knowing. He goes on to say, we live in a paradigm of separation and isolation, and we need to move into one grounded in unity and based on principles of interdependence and coexistence. So there's nothing we're here to learn, we're just here to enjoy the fruits of our labors from the past. There's a keep it simple, stupid. That's sort of said in 12-step rooms. I don't like that KISS, the KISS method. I like to keep it simple, sweetheart. Okay, keep it simple, sweetheart. Yeah, that's stupid. Just never, when people say that, I don't like it. So a couple things. Paramahansa Yogananda seems to be really again, he came to the earth and he was he walked this world as a self-realized being. So I can just look at his picture and be transformed by that. I really don't even need to study. I enjoy his teachings, but again, he's reiterating what we already know to be true in our heart, which is fun to discuss, right? And he goes on to say there are roughly two kinds of people: those who continually lament on what is wrong with the world, and those who smile away life's difficulties and remain always positive in their thinking. Why take everything so seriously? Exude peace and goodness, because that is the nature of the image of God within you, your true nature. So yeah, the world seems screwed up right now, but it's the more we focus on that, the heavier it gets. You know, focus on the gratitude, the new paradigm. Go to your heart, be hopeful, faithful, because I know, I just feel it. Something shifted in me recently, and because I was depressed. I mean, if you didn't know it, I was depressed. I've never been depressed in my life. I know what it's like now, and not fun. But now it's kind of like, once I went through that, and I was brought to my knees, and it's like, okay, I'm willing, okay, because this sucks. I don't like this. So I had to be willing to let go, and little by little, great things are happening. And it's really in here. It's like the universe loves me, and the universe loves all of us, truly. And so this another Yogananda statement: yoga is the art of doing everything with the consciousness of God. Not only when you're meditating, but when you're working, your thoughts should be constantly anchored on Him. If you work with the consciousness that you are doing it to please God, that activity unites you with Him. Therefore, do not imagine that you can find God only in meditation. Both meditation and right activity are essential. As the Bhagavad Gita teaches, if you think of God while you perform your duties in the world, you will be mentally united with Him. So again, and I love this from the Course in Miracles, eventually meditation is life. Life is meditation. We don't have to get into the lotus pose and meditate, even though use it if it's helpful. Not saying none of this is not good, but the dependency. And then, you know, what am I doing this for? Am I doing it for a need? At this point, I haven't really felt the need to meditate lately or read. Maybe I will, and I'm not saying I won't be tonight. I might be led to meditate. But tuning in to God's plan, tuning into the heart. And I read this beautiful poem, which I'll close with, and it's called Wild Geese by Mary Oliver. And this sums up what I've been choosing to say. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert, repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about your despair, yours, and I will tell you about mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over announcing your place in the family of things. And I just love that. Just be like geese, just learning to fly. That's what we're doing. We're just flying with the geese, and our future is so much grander than we could ever imagine. And I do have that faith and confidence. And I will close by saying we have come home. We have nurtured our hearts. And there's nothing left to do except dance. And so it is. Namaste.